Today, we've got two sellers from opposite sides of the world who both have sold multiple millions of dollars online, but in completely different ways. One started with the most cliche Amazon product ever and now mainly sells actually on Amazon Germany. And the other actually produces all of her own products and sells in the Amazon Handmade category. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Helium 10's got over 40 tools for e-commerce entrepreneurs. I know how overwhelming it might seem to try and figure out how you're going to learn how to use everything, or maybe even to know which ones you want to get started with. So for a completely free course that's going to guide you through learning everything you need in order to become a Helium 10 expert, visit the Helium 10 Academy. That is h10.me/academy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed, organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. We've got a couple serious sellers from the Serious Sellers Club here with us for the first time on the show today. We got Sean and Dana. How's it going?
Yeah, very well. All good from this end.
Same, doing great.
All right. Well, I have never, at least as far as I know, I have a bad memory, but I don't think I've ever talked to you guys in person or had one-on-one calls or anything. So we are gonna just completely learn about you guys from the scratch. You know, this all came from a post I did, and we have a private Serious Sellers Club Facebook group, and that's where we have 6, 7, and 8 figure sellers in. And I was like, hey guys, I'm looking for some new people to come on the podcast. By being in this club, I already know that they have verified revenue with Helium 10. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to be in the club. So I didn't have to do too much of a background check here. I was like, you know what, the background check we are going to do live on the air. So let's start with Sean. Where are you all calling in from right now?
I'm in a city called Alicante, which is about 3 hours south of Madrid.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. Have I been there? I'm not sure. I've been to Madrid, Barcelona, many times, but not sure if I've been there. I know that they have a good soccer or football team down over there as well. Now, where were you born and raised?
So I'm originally Irish, and I spent the first half of my life living there, and then I moved to the UK and spent quite a few years there. And I've been in Spain since July 2020.
Did you go to university in Ireland or UK?
No, I didn't. I was always one of these kids that university just wasn't for me. I couldn't wait to get out of school. So I was very lucky. When I went to the UK, I got a job with a US bank, Citigroup, and I was with them for about 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So, I was quite lucky and quite enjoyed working there and moved up the ladder. So, then I left City, started a domestic cleaning business.
Well, what prompted that? You just looking for something different than corporate life, or?
Yeah, corporate life became very much of a tick box exercise where you were just constantly making sure that you were compliant with everything, and it was a very slow mover for obvious reasons. And I was sort of counting down the days to retirement, and then I thought, you know what, this is wasting life. So one day I just decided, that's it, I'm going to go. And so I didn't spend any time thinking about it. And I asked for redundancy, and they said no. So I begged them for redundancy, and they gave it to me. And I started a cleaning company for a couple of years. And that was quite difficult, but it was a good introduction to business. Okay. And about 18 months into that, somebody introduced me to selling on Amazon. And I thought, this is ideal for me. It ticks all the boxes. So I started my first business, I think, in 2016.
And was that in Amazon USA, Europe?
Yeah, I was one of the amazing selling machine people, ASM6, I think it was. And it's like I didn't know what I was doing. My first business was it wasn't very successful.
I'm assuming that you're not from what you're saying, you're not still selling that same product that was your first. Can you tell us what that was? What it was then?
Yeah, I mean, my very first product was a garlic press.
Are you serious? Like how I like it almost sounds like I was setting that up, but I literally had no idea, but I just had a feeling it might be something cool. So a garlic press, like that would be like if I was like, yeah, I was selling collagen peptides and over there. That's classic.
It's a slightly different model to what's available, and it did okay, but it was never going to go crazy. And then
but you learn from the experience, I'm sure.
I learned. I learned about branding because I had several different products under the same brand, which of course is the absolute wrong thing to do. And I also, I was a bit unlucky in the sense that a few of my shipments got lost coming from China, and I never got reimbursed from that, and that really didn't help the cash flow. So I had a lot of headwinds, but the most important thing was that I learned a lot, and everything I learned then we're using in the business that I have today.
Dana, what about you? Where are you calling us from?
I am just south of Louisville, Kentucky.
Excellent. I actually just have a new hat of a I don't have it here with me, but I think there's a minor league baseball team around there called the Louisville Bats or something like that. Okay, yeah, and I got the hat because it says LB, like our listing builder tool. So like the next time I do a listing builder video. So anyways, if I visit that area, you'll have to take me to one of those. I love minor league baseball and just random sports and different things. Anyways, we're not here to talk about that. But is that where you were born and raised and stayed your whole life? Okay. And what about you? What about did you go the college path, or did you enter work, or what did you do after high school?
I very much went the college path to the extent of becoming an accountant. I actually got my CPA license, so I did that extremely difficult test. Did it all, did taxes and audits for many years.
Where did you go to college? Where did you get that training?
The University of Louisville.
Is that the Cardinals?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. I got it. See, I'm doing good with my sports teams today. All right. So actually started working in the field that you went to college for. Sounds like that should be normal, but 9 times out of 10, I think people can't say that. And what about you? Like what brought you out of that field, or what made you start thinking about e-commerce?
Yeah. So, I mean, the world tells you to fit that box. And so mine wasn't a 25-year journey or anything. I had been in it at about 7 years, but I had a family at home. And if you're familiar with anybody who's done and worked in the accounting world inside of tax season, like I negotiated my way into 60 hours a week for that time frame, where everyone else had to do way more than that. Like that was my, hey, I've got kids at home. Can I only do 60? And it just year after year, that just became, I felt like there was something that I could have more control over. That's not really why I started to make my craft, but it quickly became like, okay, if I decide to do this, I could have a little more control over when I work and when I don't. Or, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still working, but it's under my thumb. And so it was a gradual, I've been in business for 10 years. So. Okay.
So 10 years ago, you started to make this shift. Now, was it something you started in the beginning, just like in those few off hours outside of those 60, or did you quit cold turkey and just like said, I'm going to start something new?
No, it was the majority of my business until I quit. Until I actually quit the corporate grind. I did both for 4 years overlap. And so until I quit, the entire business was built between 9 p.m. and midnight. My employees were all moms, and we were all friends. And as soon as our kids went to bed, we all came to my basement and made product.
Yeah, like other all these husbands in Louisville are like, where's our wives going at 10 o'clock? And now I'm going to my friend's house in the basement. Sure you are, but you guys actually were. Okay,
well, and then because we work with a lot of glitter also, so you would come home at 1 a.m. and it's like, all right, I swear we're working.
Okay. Now you said at the beginning, like, wait. What, 10 years ago was Etsy a thing? 10 years ago?
Yep.
Okay. So you started on Etsy and going to local places.
Yep.
How did you guys decide, like, I guess what we call in Amazon nowadays product research, like how did you decide your first products? I'm assuming it wasn't a garlic press, but like how did you decide what you would produce and how there was, why did you pick it? Like, how did you know there was demand and stuff like that?
It was honestly, it's a totally different conversation when you talk to somebody who crafts. And I hate saying craft because like that's not what I do. I run a stupidly large business, but it's you don't usually approach it like doing product research. It's usually like, hey, this looks really fun, and then a bunch of people are like, hey, I want to buy that, and then it just kind of becomes a thing. So it's less of knowing where you're going first, and more of, okay, this is becoming a thing. So it's a whole different conversation when you talk to somebody who's kind of sourced and done all their research before they ever drop a dollar. I was just going to Hobby Lobby and buying a bunch of stuff and seeing what happened.
And it was fairly profitable for you from the get-go?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, what year did you decide to give Amazon a try?
Well, I wanted on Amazon for a long time, but we don't really fit the mold of that. And so it didn't really become a thing until they opened Handmade in October of 2015. When they opened that category, and I was one of the first ones on there, yeah.
Now, before then, what did you get your sales up to, like on other platforms outside of Amazon?
We were multi six figures between all of our other avenues, but that was a lot of grind. Some of it, I mean, a large portion of that was Etsy, but it was in person, it was wholesale, it was all kinds of avenues. Yeah.
And it was a company that was run by you and all your other mom friends that you're referring to there. Okay, interesting. All right, let's switch back to Sean now. So 2016. You made the garlic press, probably didn't make too much money, if at all, but learned a lot. And what was your, like, what did you pivot to? And like, I'm assuming you actually are like, hey, you know what? I need to find a product that's not saturated, or I need to figure something else out. But I definitely like this Amazon thing. So tell me about how 2016, 2017 worked out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking back on it, I didn't really have a plan. I probably had my head in the sand a little bit and sort of hoping that sales would pick up rather than, just facing that it's an issue and, fighting it head on. But I tried some other products and, again, they had, they didn't do very well. I mean, I expanded to Europe as well. And, that basically, kept me going. But it was never going to take off, basically. So it was just by pure accident. When I was on a forum, I was one of the few sellers on there that was selling in Europe, and most people didn't know how to, how to navigate VAT in Europe and so forth in the various countries. And I had done quite a lot of research on that. And a lady from Slovenia contacted me and said she was selling in the US as well with her brand. She wanted to expand to Europe, but she needed some help with registering and the VAT and so forth. So I helped her, and then she said, is there anything I can do to help you? And she helped me. She's basically a superb designer. She has an eye for detail that no other human being on earth has. And she started helping me, and then, we both became very familiar with each other's businesses. And then in 2018, 5 years ago tomorrow, she said, do you fancy doing something together? And I said, yeah, why not? And we found a product, and it was just for the UK very quick. We found the product very quickly. We sort of estimated that we would get 30 sales a day globally in the whole year round, but the product just took off immediately, and with no PPC, no reviews, no advertising. And, after I think about 8 months or something, it was doing like 1,200. One day it did 1,200 units a day in Germany. And wow. It was very different to our competitors. And she had another business, which then she exited that business, and we worked on this full time. And we found that her skill set and my skill set were the complete opposite. and the designing, the product picking, and images, videos, and everything. She took care of all of that, and I did the logistics, the ranking, inventory, and so forth, until we got to a stage where we couldn't cope. We had a couple of VAs that were a bit of a disaster because they're very task based as opposed to showing initiative. And in the middle of 2021, I think it was, we decided that we would either sell the business or we would expand by investing in getting some good people on board. And we took the latter, and the business then took off. And that's sort of where we are today.
So what was your best year since since now you're doing this joint venture with somebody else? Like, was it last year? Was it 2021?
No, we've doubled every year. So
2022 was your best year.
So our year end is the end of May, so we were like 120% up in the last 12 months.
So if you combine all your marketplaces gross sales, what was it about in dollars roughly?
Oh, the total I don't know, but we did get up to $1 million 1 month. So I would say 700,000 or 800,000 maybe over. To balance out over the year per month. So
getting closer to 8 figures, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we did was like we had a lot of stockouts, and which, as you know, kill you. But by bringing somebody on board who knows exactly what they're doing, we haven't been out of stock for one product for the last 15 months, I think, and that's made a huge difference.
Okay.
So, and launching in the US as well, we're starting to gain some traction there.
Is Germany still your number one marketplace revenue-wise, or is you?
Germany's by far the biggest.
Okay.
Germany and the US is a distant second, and then maybe France and the UK are probably next. So.
Back to Dana here. Why don't you let everybody know what are the requirements for Amazon Handmade? Like I can't. Or maybe I can, like with my coffin shelf, could I technically get on Amazon Handmade, or what do they make you sign, or what is the terms of service of being able to list your product in Amazon Handmade?
Yeah, so they it's a juried category, so you have to fill out an application, and so part of that application is stating whether or not you make your products or what percentage of the products are made by you. So you can I have people who ask me all the time, they're like, well, I have a laser machine. My laser's the one who's actually cutting it. And I'm like, okay, that still applies. But you have to verify, or when I say verify, you have to answer the question as to how many employees, basically they want to know how big you are, because they kind of don't want you to be too big. It is a small business category. And when you get to the place of needing 50 employees or whatever it would be to produce your product, it's no longer handmade. And so they do some verification inside of some accounts periodically. I've never had it done on mine, but I coach a lot of other people who sell handmade. And if you have an item that you're selling in handmade that's easily reproducible with Chinese sellers or something, they'll get that question a lot, where they will basically have to do a video call with Handmade and show them. They want to see you in your workspace and your scenario to prove that you're still supposed to be in that category. So there's no real rhyme or reason, but I've seen enough people go through it to see that some of the categories inside Handmade that they will kind of pinpoint. Just to make sure it's not somebody who's gotten in who shouldn't have. Now,
are you still continuing to sell on Etsy and other platforms as well?
We do. We're a brand in general, so we do a lot on Shopify. Any traffic that we drive ourselves is all done through our own website and stuff. But Amazon's a big piece of that. But yes, we still sell on Etsy. We still sell. We do some wholesale, and then we do a tremendous amount of traffic to our own web pages and email lists and stuff.
And then, so what's your, how do you choose what to do nowadays? I know you said, 10 years ago it was just kind of random, but what's your process now for deciding what you're going to make, and then also for all your products, does it just automatically go to all the platforms? Like, we'll list it on Etsy, we'll list it on Amazon, we'll list it on Shopify, or some things are on some and some are not on other? What's your basic MO there?
So we put it on all of them. And what we sell is very seasonal based. So we sell holiday items. So for Easter, we put up Easter items. For Christmas, we put up Christmas items. And so I'm telling you, the conversation is so different than people who are like, hey, Sean's like, I have one product and we have it all under one brand. And I'm like, well, we're literally going to finish up 5 different new designs today, and they'll all go up on all of the platforms today. And it's all underneath that brand. So we've learned kind of what styles our customers like and stuff, but it's a constant production of new designs. And that because on Handmade, the majority of the items, we do FBA, but like it's not a requirement to kind of sell inside Handmade. It's not the way that everyone necessarily approaches their handmade business. I do because I'm now kind of in the Amazon world. But a lot of the people who come into Handmade to start with, they're selling on Etsy. And so they make the items, they send them into the customer when the customer orders it. And so they just transition their Amazon business to fulfilling themselves. And so that's what a lot of it is for people. So we just kind of listen to what our customers like as far as the styles go, but we still produce and send a lot of the items here from our warehouse.
Now, what about you? What was your peak of sales in the last few years? Was it last year, year before? And then how much about was it across all these different platforms? I know, I'm not sure if you have that number handy, but just rough estimate.
Yeah. So our biggest year was 2020. It was what we sell is the handmade products are over $100. So it was very based off of, and we only sell in the US market. So it was very influenced when people were at home and they wanted their items that they could just shop online, and they had extreme amount of kind of extra income. So that drastically affected us inside of 2020 specifically, but we still do multi-7 figures a year.
Multi-7 figures. And wow, and you're producing all of these yourselves. Is it still you and the same group of people?
It is, yes. So we did, because I did kind of become an Amazon girl and learned that world. So I kind of do both pieces and dip my toes into both sides. We do sell supplies and other items related to what we make. And so that is a contributing factor to kind of the large piece of it, but we're still over 7 figures just for the handmade side for sure.
To be in the millions of dollars of sales, I'm assuming this is not obviously something you're doing from 9 to 1 o'clock in your basement. So like, what kind of operation are you, have you had to get a warehouse, hire full-time employees? Yes. and things like that? Or?
Yes. So you asked about like starting and how we decided what we were going to make. If I would have done it again, I would have started with something smaller, but what we make, actually classifies us in the oversized category. So we are, in the growth of, expanding into 10 years of business. It doesn't fit in my basement anymore. It's a lot of space that it takes up. So yes, I quit my corporate job in 2017. That year we moved into a warehouse. We've since moved into a different warehouse. And so we have a couple employees on that supply side where that's just kind of fulfilling orders. And with that as well, we do Shopify, we do Etsy, all of that. My whole business is not meant to be just an Amazon brand type thing. But we do have, it's seasonal. As I said, we make like Christmas items, we make Halloween items, et cetera. So we will be heavier in staffing during those periods, but we try to run between 7 and 14 people or so throughout the year.
Now we're going to just go back and forth with just some unique strategies from both of you. Things that not any Amazon seller can, or online seller for that matter, can just say, hey, yeah, we do millions of dollars a year. You guys have achieved that. So looking back, like what are some things that some strategies you could share that you think you're a little bit unique on? I mean, almost anything about the Handmade is something unique because not many people do it. So let's start with Sean. Like. Give us one strategy, 60 seconds or less, something unique that you guys are doing that's helped you achieve this level of success.
Just 2 things. One is staff, having good staff. The second thing I think we're doing is we manage our ASINs at a very low level. So we know exactly every day how each ASIN is performing, and we have an internal tool that I can look at it within 20 seconds. I can see how the business is performing, if there's any trends that we don't like. The other thing that we do quite well, I think that a lot of people don't really take much notice of, is our numbers. So we've invested a lot in making sure that we know exactly what our numbers are and exactly what profit margin we have on each product. And if there's a product not performing, because that happens, then we just get rid of it. So I think that's what separates us from a lot. But I think having good staff is definitely the most important thing.
Dana, what's a strategy you can give us, something that you think people can learn from?
So again, coming from a different world, the people that I'm dealing with in trying to launch the Handmade side, those are my people, those are my conversations I love having. And in that mindset, and in the conversations with those people, it's shifting their mindset that they are a legitimate business. And so that's a lot of times what my story has done for them, is proving to them that they can be kind of whatever level that they want to be, which is why, like, I love having conversations with people in the Amazon world who are not approaching business the same way that I am. And they look at me and they're like, oh, like, you're legitimate, like you're actually making things. And I'm like, yes, that is what we do. And so speaking to those people, they struggle to realize that their business could become kind of whatever they want it to be. A lot of them are really stuck in the mindset that, okay, if I made $10,000 this year, that's a win for me. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But if you buckle down and you do something different or break the mold, because there's so many of them are like, I don't want to do Amazon. I don't want to do Amazon. And I'm like, okay, but if you do, look what could happen. So just push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, and whatever your business is made you comfortable in doing, maybe there's something else out there that's different that could help you be more than you dreamed it could be.
What's your launch process like, Dana? Like for are you doing the similar things any private label seller is, PPC and try and get visibility and get to page one, or is there something unique about selling in Handmade that's different than non-handmade?
Well, depending on kind of the saturation of which Handmade category you're in, I don't have to do a whole lot of work to get on page one of the category that I'm in Handmade. So Handmade is a main category, but then it has all the subcategories. So you can have T-shirts, you can have mugs, you can have tumblers, like whatever that might be, but it might be a subcategory within Handmade. So we don't necessarily approach it the same way because we've created so much brand recognition, and just we have a lot of products out there that kind of dominate the category in general that we're in under Handmade. So our approach is different. We do PPC, but it's not necessarily to get one item to get traction. We are approaching a launch, which is funny because no one in Handmade calls it a launch, that we make a product, we take a picture of it, we list it, and we're only making the one until we turn around and get more orders for that same one. And then for us, if it's kind of proven itself, that might be something that we turn around and send into FBA. But it's us creating the one, getting great images of it, and just adding it to our entire catalog, and just rising the whole tide of the whole business.
Okay, now what about somebody who's like, you know what? I don't necessarily want to be making stuff, for years in my basement, or this is not, the exact career path for producing my own products, but at the same time, I don't have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 to invest in a product, from China. Is Handmade a good way, if my budget is low, to at least get my feet wet in the game and start building up capital, or is it kind of risky to do that if you don't have experience? What would you suggest to somebody who's out there who's like who definitely wants to sell on Amazon? Would Handmade be kind of like that gateway drug potentially for them?
I mean, it could be. You have to have a passion behind selling your product, or making your product, basically. It's not a thing or a category that you approach of, hey, I want to be on Amazon. What thing can I make? That's not usually the kind of conversation that I have with Handmade sellers. It's usually that they love what they're making and they make it really, really well. The conversation that I have to have with a lot of people when they're trying to decide if Amazon is their next route is, are they ready to take on what that scale might look like? Because if they if they turn around and get increased orders, 200, 300% of what they're doing now, just to start out within those first couple months, a lot of them were like, okay, no, I'm not sure I could handle that. So the conversation's just, it's different. I'm not usually speaking to someone who says, hey, I want to get on Amazon. Is Handmade the right place? But it's an avenue that, yes, if you get into it and you catch the bug, which is kind of what happened with me. I sold in Handmade, and then we turned around and branched into other pieces outside the Handmade category. But that's not usually the approach for anybody in that category.
Now, last two questions for each of you. Sean, first of all, favorite Helium 10 tool and how to use it?
The keyword ranking tool I use most.
Is that one of those metrics that you're looking at when you're looking at the product's health, like how it's ranking on keywords, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. I mean, we're working on, on getting getting other data on our own tool. It's just an internal tool. But yeah, I mean, we use that, and we use it. I mean, my favorite one, which I can't even remember what it's called. It's the one whereby you can split up all the words into individual words.
Frankenstein. Mm-hmm.
It's a Frankenstein, or
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I have great fun with that tool. So yeah, we use Helium 10 all the time.
Dana's favorite Helium 10 tool and how you use it.
Listing Builder. I use Listing Builder to give variation, because what we sell is I'll have Christmas items, and so if we're selling 50 of the same, it's all the same keyword, so making sure that they're varied, or I can use that easily to kind of mix it up.
Last question is like I always talk this year about people's hobbies and what they're doing to get out of the 9 to 5, or for entrepreneurs sometimes it's 9 to 9. We get we always need to have something to take us away from our daily grind. So Sean, what are your hobbies? What are you doing to make sure that you're mentally and physically healthy?
I mean, I'm a huge sports fan, so and I play a lot of tennis and paddle out here. I'm not sure if you've heard of paddle. It's you will do. It's starting to gain some traction in the US, but I'd never heard of it before. I came out here. It's a little bit like, I think you have pickleball in the US. I think it's a little bit like that, and like the weather here is fantastic. You have sunshine, I think 320 days a year, so it's quite good. But also, I love what I do, so I don't feel as if it's a job, so I don't need to get away the way I did when I was in the corporate world.
We are still in the process of kind of figuring out that balance. But we have, me and my husband have gone into short-term rentals. So there's a lot of kind of travel associated with that, of launching Airbnbs, and that side is kind of fun, learning something new. But to get out of, that's a piece of the get out of the 9 to 5 grind. But I also coach on Handmade at Amazon. And so just that education world of not necessarily having to trade time for money is kind of the end goal. But I love still growing this and managing my team. I don't make the products anymore, so it's more just helping brainstorm what the next step is and that kind of thing. So like Sean, it feels nothing like the grind that I used to do. So it's a different activity that lights my heart on fire. And when it stops lighting my heart on fire, then I'll figure out what's next.
Now, Dana, if anybody wanted to reach out to you on the interwebs to learn more about what you do, or hit you up, is that possible? And how could they do that?
Yeah, I run a Facebook group that is Handmade at Amazon. It has my name in the Facebook group, so that's the easiest way to find me. I'm in there loving on all those people and teaching them to actually take their craft as a business.
So what is the Facebook group's name?
It's Handmade at Amazon Dana Midgiff. And
Sean, what about you? You want to stay private out there, or are you down with people reaching out to you?
I don't mind. I love to talk to people too, so I guess they can get hold of me on the Series Sellers Facebook page.
Well, they can't get in there. How many people can get in? Yeah. LinkedIn or just...
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so yeah.
Or if they find you on a tennis court there in Spain.
Exactly, yeah. You can, as long as they don't interrupt the match, it'll be fine. So.
There you go. All right, well, it was nice getting to know your stories, and next year maybe we can have you guys back on the show, and let's see let's see what you guys have accomplished in 2023. It's definitely an interesting year so far. So I'd love to catch up to you guys next year to see where you're at.